She just does not stop. Hey friends, Orf here, and today we have a quick album review, and it looks like it's Brat Autumn? Yes, it's finally time to look at Charli's highly anticipated Brat remix album. Of course, some of the remixes on here are not really new at this point, but to be honest, after the release of the original album, I wasn't really bumping any of those extra tracks that came afterwards. If anything, I really liked Guess featuring Billie Eilish because I thought Billie's voice just worked perfectly on that track. But the thing is, those first remixes didn't really change the structure of the song. Instead, they just added an extra vocal feature on top of the song. Everything else remained pretty much original. And when it was announced that there would be an entire remix album, I guess I just kind of subconsciously assumed that it would be like that for the whole thing. You know, all the songs staying pretty much the same original mixes with some just new vocal features sprinkled on top of there. But as the release date approached, it looked like at least some of these songs were actually going to be completely redone. Now, to me, when an artist makes a remix, whoever's constructing it should try to keep everything iconic from the original track while simultaneously reinventing it and making it sound as separate from the original as possible without losing its identity. This is not an easy task a lot of the time, and this was actually a problem I had with the electronic house, dubstep, and drum and bass craze in the early 2010s. There was, in my view, an oversaturation of remixes and reimaginations, and so many of them were either so ridiculously removed from the original that they might as well have been their own tracks so that they could, reach their full potential, or the changes were so minimal that it made me wonder what the point of the remix was in the first place. So this time around, I am overjoyed to say that this album, this one right here, probably executed this as well as humanly possible. Now, what's crazy about a lot of these original tracks is that they were instrumentally minimalistic. So when creating a remix, there's not really a lot to work with. On here, rather than subtracting or adding a whole lot, most of the time the changes come in the form of altering a vocal melody while keeping the lyrics the same, or changing a synthesizer's preset while keeping the melody the same, tempo changes, alterations of various effects. This usually means that the focus on adding new material comes in the form of new lyrics from the collaborating artist. So to me, these remixes are done quite organically, as if they're crafted more from the ground up. Now, I don't know if Charli was the one who picked all the artists to be featured on here, but whoever did that basically hit the nail on the head nearly 20 times over. The soothing voice of Julian Casablancas on the new, slower, more chill version of Mean Girls is a match made in heaven. Ariana Grande on the reimagined Sympathy is a Knife is god tier, and the original Apple became my favorite track off of the album almost immediately, before the TikTok dance trend, mind you. But what could possibly make this transcendent, reimagined version of this track even better? That's right, the Japanese House, of course. Now, just having a popular name on a track is, of course, not enough to automatically make it good. But not only are these songs good, no, great actually, I think there's actually more emphasis on incorporating the styles that the collaborating artists are known for than there is on making them sound like Brat. It usually comes out to be a pretty even mix, but what I mean is that for the most part, I don't just hear the voices of Troye Sivan or Bon Iver pasted over a remix. No, I feel their artistic influences woven throughout as well. So it doesn't just feel like a remix project, but really a collaborations project through and through. This synergy not only showcases the versatility of Charli's songwriting, but also highlights how different musical styles can blend seamlessly on here. I think this is a great example of collaboration and diverse influences elevating a project beyond its initial vision. And even Charli's vocals are usually switched up, edited, re-recorded, or in some cases she even supplies new lines altogether to give the impression that these songs really do have their own identity. And it's safe to say that most of the time these songs do achieve a near perfect balance of altering and adding new material to make them unique in their own way, while simultaneously allowing them to retain the identity of Brat. So yes, there are a few tracks on here that I don't think do this as well as the rest. Mainly it's the singles that came before the release of the full album, like 360, Guess, Girl So Confusing, maybe Von Dutch as well, because for the most part these tracks are not as remixed or reimagined instrumentally. It's just mostly the same track with new vocal features on top. To be fair, the artists chosen to perform perform on these songs, like Billie Eilish on Guess, as I mentioned earlier, or Lord on Girl So Confusing, are still extremely fitting. Again, their performances match so effortlessly with their respective songs. However, I guess I just expect a little more when the rest of the tracks on here are more like reinvented versions. But I do still enjoy the sort of back and forth kind of call and answer dynamic happening with the vocals on 360 and Guess. And in any case, this is just the product of these tracks being made slightly earlier and then being sort of thrown onto this version of the album, probably constructed in a different setting at a different time before Charli decided to start redoing the whole album. So yeah, a few of them aren't extremely remixed, I should say, but like the original release, I don't think there's a single track on here that isn't worth a listen. You know what's so glaring is that when some other artists continue to release more content pertaining to an album after its initial release, it can come in the form of deluxe editions or strategic re-releases that sometimes just kind of try to milk as much money and attention from the listeners as possible with the least amount of effort from the artist's end. Taylor Swift, who said that? What an asshole. But meanwhile, Charli has already released, say it with me, one of the best pop albums of the decade, and then said, fuck it, I'm gonna reimagine the whole thing and release it all over again. My point is that she very clearly did not need to do that. If all she were after were money and clout, she could have put in so much less effort on this and would still be very much able to ride that Brat wave. But no, she went out of her way to make it this quality because she wanted to. And on one hand, sure, it is a little weird that that's where the bar is, because to me, that's a little lower than it should be. But Charli, thank you. Thank you for this. It's awesome. And it's possible you may have just raised that bar a little bit. But anyway, those are my thoughts. I would love to hear yours though, so throw them in the comments. I will read everything, I promise. And with that said, I hope you all have a fantastic evening and stay safe out there, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye and see ya.